Thank you. For live, Babette, it's on you.
Good evening. I'm Bobette Mays, Vice Chair of the Community Reparations Commission, and I'd like to welcome you to our meeting, August the 19th special call meeting. All CRC members and staff are participating virtually for today's meeting. The live meeting will be streamed on the city's YouTube channel, accessed through the YouTube icon on the front page of the city's website or via the live stream. You may also listen to the meeting via phone by calling 855 925 2801 and entering code 9040. And for today's virtual meeting, we have an option for people to call in and comment live during the meeting. To call in and comment live, use the number 855 925 2801, meeting code 9040. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the meeting live. At this point, speakers will need to push *3 to enter the speaker queue. I will do the roll call to begin the meeting. Give me a minute. I had it. Give me 1 second. I'm kind of slow today. Dwayne Barton, Norma Baines,
Here.
Norma Baines, Dwayne Barton is here. Norma Baines, Tiffany Devereaux, Renita Conyers,
Here.
Christopher Gordon, Roy Harris, Shonda Jackson, Kimberly Jones,
Here.
Dewana Little,
Here.
Dwayne McAfee, Glenda McDowell.
Here.
Let me get my paper. I'll be with you 1 second. Tamara Miller, excuse me. Dwight Mullen, Mildred Nance Carson, Osandu McPeters, Thomas Priester, Dwayne Richardson, Eric Robinson, Renetta Waters,
Here.
CC Weston,
Here.
D. Williams, MZ Yehuda,
Present.
and Keith Young. And D. Burris, Shakiki Giles Bayton, and Jesse Ray. We have it looks like we've got only 10 present, if I'm correct.
I think Osandu is here. I think.
Osandu, is he here? Yes,
Yeah.
I see him now.
Yeah, I'm here.
And you did get MZ.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not have a quorum. I don't think there's anything on our agenda that needs to be voted on. So what is the process? Do we continue with the meeting even though we do not have a quorum? Since
Yes,
we
we
do not
do.
have anything to vote on?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. Welcome to our August 19th Community Reparations Commission meeting. I hope everyone had a chance to review the agenda and the meetings from the minutes from our, sorry, 1 second, from our July 15th, 2024 meeting. And so I would like to move to approval of the meeting minutes. If everyone has had a chance to review the July 15th, 2024 meeting minutes. And is there any amendments that need to be made to those minutes?
Go ahead. Sorry, Dawana. You won't be able to vote because you don't have.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So, well, we'll just hold those. So I hope everybody had a chance to review them. But
We
if y'all
just need
do
one
have
more
any
person.
edits,
If we need one more person to come in, then we'll have a quorum. Just
okay.
one more.
But if you do have any edits to the minutes, please let us know. You can post it in the chat as well. All right. Is Vanisha here? Hey, Vanisha.
Hi,
Yes,
Dawana.
hi, welcome.
Thank you. I think we can actually move to the first agenda item, right? Which would be the city county update.
Yep. Did you want to go over the review of the
Yeah.
objectives?
So I'm going to go over the objectives for today. So we have 2 objectives. The city county update includes the budget, final report interviews, staff recommendation update, and next steps. And then the other objective of today is the extension request. And so with our objectives being reviewed, we are on to city and county updates with Salah.
Thank
And
you. Yep, appreciate you. Thank you very much. I see so I have the budget up there, but I didn't bring it down. I didn't carry it down, you all, so I apologize for that. Don't have an actual budget sheet, but I do want to tell you that what you have in your budget to date is $2,873,26.57. That includes $520,200 that came from the city budget for FY 24-25. So just want to give you all that update. And then Dr. Noah, if you wanted to give your update on the county's budget, and then I'll move forward with the rest of our updates.
I'm sorry. Is there any outstanding debts?
There are. So there's still stipends that need to be paid.
So you don't know what
I don't have that as of yet because those have not been submitted.
Okay.
So once they're submitted, I can give you all an update.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So for the county fiscal year 25, $520,200 was added to the pot, bringing the total to $2,916,829 on the county side. And that is with the cease to harm audit out. So there's no outstanding. We're not waiting for anything to come in. That is the balance.
All right.
Thank you for having asked the question.
We now have a quorum. Dwayne Richardson is on the call.
And Dwayne McAfee is on the call as well.
Okay.
Yes, thank you guys for Bobette. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll finish my updates, and do you all want to go back to the meeting minutes after I finish my updates? Okay. So the next update that I have for you all is the final report interviews. You should have received a couple of emails from me with regards to the CRC report. And one of the things that we had shared with you all is that we were going to be interviewing if you wanted to. It was not mandatory, but in order to hear your voice about this process and how you felt about the process, we are conducting interviews. If you have not signed up for an interview, please do so. If that's something that you would like to do, I will send out another email tomorrow. So I'm kind of spamming your inbox, but want to make sure that it stays kind of at the top of your emails. If you don't want to be interviewed, but you prefer just to respond to the questions, those were also sent in that email. You can definitely email us back with your responses. I need all of the responses by Friday, August the 30th. So whether that's being interviewed or that's completing it in writing, I need those responses back by Friday, August the 30th, which is a week from this Friday. Does anyone have any questions with regards to that?
So Salah, like I went and chose like who I preferred to be interviewed by. I thought that the instructions said if you did that they would reach out to schedule it, or do I need to go onto the Excel spreadsheet and schedule it myself? Because I haven't been contacted since I did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what you need to do is, and I apologize if it wasn't clear. So you'll pick the person that you want to interview, and then you go into the Excel spreadsheet and you put the time, the date and the time in which works for you and your schedule and that person's schedule as well. And if they haven't reached out to you, then I would just shoot them a really quick email.
No, I didn't put the time. So I thought that I select them and they reached out and we do the time, but I'll just put the time in there and then we should be good. So
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions with regards to the interviews and the process? All righty then. So the next thing, and I'll share my screen with you all, is the staff recommendation that I wanted to share at our last meeting. And if you all can tell me if you're able to see this or not. Can make it a little bit bigger. Hopefully that's helpful. Are you all able to see this? If someone can give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So what thank you. So what you see here is, I'll go back. So in the last meeting, we talked about the recommendation that staff was recommending for you all when it comes to finishing up the process. The two things that you were charged with was the recommendations and the final report. We stated that we felt like the final report would be completed by the end of October. I still stand on that. I think that we're making great headway with the individuals who are a part of this process. And so we still believe that we'll be able to complete the final report by the end of October. What you'll see is there was a slight change. And so what we're proposing to council is that we're going to focus on the final report completion from August until, well, since we've already been doing it, but until the end of October. And then after October, we'll be focusing on other requests. What I want to put your attention to is there's a couple of things where we said we would be doing, staff would support the CRC. So there's resources for the attorney for the 501c3 that is in progress. I actually reached out to Pisca Legal. I spoke to Dewana first before I reached out to them. Had a conversation with Pisca Legal, referred her over to them. She was able to have a conversation with them. Unfortunately, they're unable to provide any assistance due to a conflict of interest. They were not able to share what that conflict of interest was. But they did provide Dewana with some additional resources of attorneys that she can reach out to. We are requesting that this work be done pro bono and that there not be, of course, not be a charge. The other piece is the assistance with the formation of the Accountability Council. Not quite sure if that's something that will fall up under that 501c3, but we're thinking that that kind of is grouped together. So although we're saying we'll focus on the other request, that you all feel need to be done. Beginning in November, that work is already in progress. So what you'll see is that in December, again, there's that support. We'll meet with City Council to see if there's any additional support that might be needed. We'll continue to support you all with the formation of the Accountability Council. And then in January, we will commence with the closeout of the CRC. So that's making sure that everyone is paid. And then we'll start working as a staff to begin to do some looking at the implementation plan for recommendations. I will share that we've already provided the recommendations to our respective departments. They are not currently working on them, but we have given it to them so they can have an idea of what might be coming down the pipeline once council has an opportunity to vote on those recommendations. At the bottom of the infographic, you'll see where we've put where staff has supported the support that we provided since June. So assisted with the development of the extension request. We've held a special call meeting in July, plus this meeting. We're holding bi-weekly writing meetings, report writing meetings. We've developed and finalized those questions for the report. We've been scheduling interviews. I know that some interviews have already taken place. We've already begun the research for the 501c3 formation. And again, we've notified our city departments of the work that will be coming down the pipelines once council has an opportunity to look at the recommendations and vote on which ones to implement. So with that, I open up the floor for any questions or comments. All righty, I will stop sharing. So hearing none, I'll stop presenting. And the next thing is just next steps. Again, we're going to continue to offer any support that is needed throughout this process. So we know that we are only going to have special called meetings. If there's something that you all need to vote on, there will not be any monthly CRC meetings. The IFA meetings have ceased to exist at this point. The meetings that we are having are, again, special call meetings or the report writing meetings, which take place every other week. So bi-weekly, we're having those meetings. Is there any questions you all may have? And if nothing rises up to the top right now, you have my email. You can pick up the phone and give me a call if any questions rise up to the top for you all. All righty, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we have a quorum, do we still have a quorum?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay. So now that we have a quorum, I would like to go back and vote on our meeting minutes from July 15th, 2024. Has everyone had a chance to review those meeting minutes for July 15th, 2024? Are there any edits or any edits to those minutes or any questions about or concerns about those meeting minutes?
Yeah, this is MZ. Good evening, everyone. There's my name in there. Sometimes it's just listed as MZ in some of the approvals. So if you could just put like my full, like MZ Yehuda, my last name, and then I think in another area you left the H off my last name at the back, and that's it.
Thank you, MZ. We'll get that corrected.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any edits or amendments to the July 15, 2024 meeting minutes? All right. If not, would someone like to make the motion to approve the July 15, 2024 CRC meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
That's Mr.
Dwayne
Dwayne Richardson. Is there a second?
Hi,
I'll
Renata,
second.
second.
This is CC Weston.
Uh-huh.
CC Weston. Yes, I second.
Okay. Bobette, would you like to do a roll call vote, please? You muted, Ms. Bobette.
I said, let me just get my papers back. I got 1,000 papers and I'm trying to make sure I keep them all together. So I want to get everybody's name right. So just hold on a second. It's my fault. Dwayne Barton, do you approve the minutes? Dwayne Barton?
Yeah.
Okay. Norma Baines? Tiffany Devereaux? Renetta Conyers, I'm sorry. Renetta.
Yes.
Christopher Gordon? Roy Harris? Shonda Jackson? Kimberly Jones? Yes or no? Kimberly Jones?
Yes.
Dewana Little?
Yes.
Dwayne McAfee?
Yes.
Bobette Mays, yes. Glenda McDowell? Yes. And I'm gonna have to find my other paper, so hold on. You know, I'm old and my phone is ringing and I don't know why. I apologize. You know, this is what life is like sometimes. So give me a minute. Tamara Miller, Dwight Mullen, Mildred Nance, Osandu McPeters, Thomas Priester, Dwayne Richardson,
I approve.
Renetta Waters,
Yes.
CC Western, CC Western, MZ Yehuda.
Yes, Miss Bobette. Yes.
Did I get it right that time?
You did, and you got it right the first time too.
I told you I'm working on it.
I know you. I know you are. Thank you.
It's all approved that we're present. So we're good.
Thank you. So thank you all for approving those minutes. We are now moving down to our next agenda item, which is the extension request discussion. And so, let me see. Thank you, Salah. And so, as we requested in our July meeting, we did get our date pushed to August 27th. Salah, am I right in assuming that we will have public comment for our presentation to City Council on August 27th?
It has been made known to both the clerk and I believe the city council is aware of that. Right now, it's under old business or unfinished business. And so under that, it would be public comment.
Okay. All right. And so there has not been any updates to our presentation, minus the ones that I made at the last meeting. So we are going to go through it so that y'all are able to see the edits that I made based on y'all's recommendations and commentary at our last meeting on July 15th. Next slide, please.
Do you want me to skip, or are you gonna go? Do you want to go through the whole presentation?
You can skip to down. Well, I guess you can go through the whole presentation because it was several edits.
Okay, perfect.
All right. The purpose did not change. Next slide. The mission, the Reparations Commission is empowered to make short, medium, and long-term recommendations that will make significant progress toward repairing the damage caused by public and private systematic racism. Next slide. Defining reparations. So we came up with an awesome definition that kind of defines how we was looking at reparations for this process. And I thought it was important that we also include that. So I did add that to this slide based on the voted on definition for reparations that we use for this process. Next slide, please. So it was asked at our July 15th meeting that the resolution be added instead of excerpts of the resolution. And so that's what I did, was included the resolution into the presentation as the reminder for the work that we were tasked to do. Next slide, please. So this slide didn't change. This was a part of the original presentation. Next slide, please. So the stop the harm recommendation, I did add this into the recommendation because this was our first, our second recommendation that we voted on as a commission to moved to City Council and Buffalo County Commissioners that was approved. However, we did get the audit done out of this work, but there were still things within this recommendation from 2022 that was not implemented, that was not addressed. And so I thought it was good to highlight that, and that's what's highlighted in yellow. And do y'all want me to read what's highlighted in yellow, or y'all good? I will, if y'all want me to.
I think you should read it.
Yes,
All right.
please.
The stop the harm, the stop the harm recommendation, the cessation, assurance, and guarantee of non-repetition and institutional processes that lead to racially disparate outcomes. And so Asheville City Council and Buncombe County Board of Commissioners resolved in 2020 that they were responsible and complicit in actions that injured African Americans. And so this first two blocks are highlighted, and that reads, as the Reparations Commission formulates recommendations that will address injuries that have resulted in disparate outcomes in education, health and wellness, housing, economic development, and justice, it is strongly recommended that the city and county cease harms that continue to injure and in turn intensify disparities. It is also recommended that the assurance be given that effective measures are taken that end ongoing and current harm due to It is also recommended that assurances be given that effective measures are taken that end ongoing and current harms due to intentional and unintentional policies, programs, practices, and procedures, processes that produce disparities, as well as racially discriminate outcomes in education, healthcare, housing, economic development, and justice must cease. So I'm gonna read the whole thing, but those two are in yellow. An official audit must be completed by the city and county of where Asheville and Buncombe County are in compliance and out of compliance with federal and state laws, regulatory bodies, codes of conduct, court orders, and consent decrees. An audit will allow for the acceptance of guarantees that the cessation has actually occurred. The verification of fact data that are publicly disclosed will be a part of such an audit. Former harm of threat to the safety and interest of African Americans must be prevented, and any violation must be prosecuted. So the audit was done. So that's why I didn't highlight that. So the audit was done. We were able to get data. So this is highlighted in yellow. Furthermore, it is recommended that the city of Asheville and Buncombe County must promote and enforce codes of conduct and ethical norms as found in federal law, state statutes, and local ordinance, as well as accreditation agencies and other regulatory bodies. It is also recommended that ongoing measures be taken to create and or strengthen the following: confidence building between government and African Americans, truth-seeking mechanisms and processes, and timely accountability of the dispensation of these recommendations. And so that is in yellow. And so I thought it was important to highlight a recommendation that was already submitted that hasn't been fully realized or implemented. And so that's what this one is about. Any questions, concerns, comments on this slide that I added to this presentation?
In general, how long are we going to have overall for that presentation?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes, and I do not plan to read this slide because they already have this recommendation and they already have this presentation. So they have time to go over it and go through it before we actually present it.
So is your goal just to have it, are you going to say anything from it or just to have it just for informational purposes?
Yeah, I am going to say that we already have a recommendation from 2022 that has been submitted and both approved by both city and county that has not been fully implemented, and highlight that as a part of this slide. And another reason, like when we start talking about our actual reasons for this slide, I think is very influential.
I have a question. When you say that this recommendations from October 2022, are you saying that the ones in yellow that were the recommendations were sent to the city and the county, but they have not done what they were said that they would do? Is that what you're saying?
So this whole thing was sent to, this is one recommendation and there's just key actions in it. So there was the cessation of harm. There was also assurances. There was the audit. There was the prosecution and the promotion and enforcement of codes and conduct and norms. There was also ongoing measures to strengthen the following. You know what I mean? So none outside of the audit from this recommendation, that's the only thing that has been done out of this recommendation, even though the full recommendation was voted on and approved.
So nothing has been done. Is that what you?
The audit has been done.
Huh?
The audit
is the only thing that has been done. Nothing else is, the city or the county has not done anything from these recommendations that they approved.
Harm still is being perpetuated. Yeah, so no.
Are they saying that they're working on it?
I don't know what they're saying. It gives them an opportunity to say what they're doing.
But you have not had a conversation with them before now as to if they're working on it.
Remember, like, I feel like this: if I'm a Black person living in Asheville and Buncombe County and harm is still persisting, on me, on people I know, and I'm still getting reports of harm that is still persisting. To Black people, we see it on the news, we see it every day. So it's like, if the harm is still persistent, then it can't be done. How do it get done and harm is still being perpetuated?
My thing is, it took.
And it gives them an opportunity. I don't want to make assumptions. I don't know what they're doing. That's the city and
But
county.
I was just saying, did you have a conversation with her? Because I really don't think that we'll have enough time in a public forum for you to answer that. But my thing, this is just my opinion. It took 200 years that they've been doing the harm, and I don't know if they're going to say that they could correct all of that in 2 years. That's all I'm saying. So Dr. No has her hand up. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Babette. Yes, I think for me, I was gonna ask for a point of clarity and this print is really tiny. And so if you can share this with me, and it might be in the paperwork for me to fully look over, because I don't want to say, yes, we've done all this, but I know we are working on different things. And so beyond the sister harm audit, there are things that have been done within the county that the county's just working on. And so, yeah, I just was going to say I am glad that we're having this meeting, but that I can look at this and send some direct feedback before the end of this week on what maybe is being done to address any of these things.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. No, thank you for that. If you are looking for the presentation, it is linked within the agenda. If you want for me to send it to you directly, I can send it to you directly. And then I'll respond on the city side. As I stated, we've given the recommendations to our city staff. However, we have not moved forward with implementing or beginning to implement anything. We are definitely waiting on you all to present to council with the recommendations and for them to give us some guidance on how they would like for us to move forward, and then our work will start. So we are, again, there are conversations, there are other reports that we have, like our diversity assessment, our HR assessment, the cease the harm, all of those things that overlap. So we're also trying to make sure that if there's any overlap or overlay in other assessments that we have conducted, that we're not doing double or triple the work, that we're looking at all of them together. So I just wanted to make sure that I share that, and then I'll let Rachel, I see her hand is up.
Thanks a lot. And just wanted to clarify that there are elements of the Cease the Harm audit that we are actively implementing. You may have said that and I missed it. So similar to Dr. No, we can provide a write-up that outlines what we are currently doing in response to the Cease the Harm audit. And then some of the things to your earlier point, Salah, that based on feedback from council after the recommendations are presented to City Council from the Reparations Commission, we can also follow up on what that implementation plan looks like.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bob, at your hand.
I had a quick question about, I know the bonds, we supposed to be voting on the bonds in November. So when you talk about overlap, I was wondering, how is the future bond thing going to overlap with the reparations recommendations? I mean, and if not, how can we ensure that some of the goals that was listed, the 39 goals, is sometimes somehow connected to the bonds?
Dwayne, that's a great question. I'm probably going to muck this up just a little bit, and I'm probably going to need your help, Rachel. Rachel applied for a grant a couple of months ago with regards to the GO bond. And we traveled to Boston. There's an organization, PFI and PFM, that is working with us, because what we requested is we wanted help on how to implement all the different plans that we have, which include the Cease the Harm, which includes the disparity study and the recommendations that came out of this commission. And so we're going to be working with this organization to help us to come up with a plan. And the bonds have to do with this as well, Dwayne, is what I'm trying to say. But I think Rachel probably will be able to give you a more clear understanding of how that'll work.
Thanks a lot. I will note for all of our capital projects, not just the projects that we're proposing to have funded with general obligation bond funding, there is an equity assessment that occurs, and our Department of Equity and Inclusion is part of the team that scores and ultimately is a part of the process that ranks and prioritizes the projects that are selected for funding, be it through the city's general capital funds or through the general obligation bond. So there is an equity assessment that's based on questions that come directly from GARE, and all of our department heads, as well as several of our key project management staff, have been trained on GARE, so they are informed by that. And then to Salah's point, the grant that we received and the technical assistance that's currently underway is helping us develop better performance measures so that we can look at how impactful the investments we're making in equity are. And that includes investments in our operations as well as our capital infrastructure. And the GEO bond funding will be, of course, supporting our capital infrastructure. So I hope that helps to answer your question. It's a pretty complex set of answers that I can provide, but at a high level, just want to let you know that there are several layers of assessment that are underway to make sure that we're being as equitable as possible with the expenditure of those potential funds that we'll be receiving after the election in November.
Do y'all have any proof of that right now? Oh, okay, that's why you're getting the people. I mean, I just haven't experienced that yet, and I'm real curious to see how it all plays out because I've been actively pushing for that, and I just haven't seen it yet. So I want to know how would you communicate that back to, if I wasn't on the Reparations Commission, how would that be communicated back to the larger community?
So we're working on the communication plan right now for the GEO bonds. And so that's part of what we're developing is what is that strategy and what does that look like? If you're specifically asking if you want to see the scoring sheets, that's all public information. So we can certainly share that with you as follow-up information to today's meeting. But we can also share with this commission, and it will be shared publicly, the materials just educating the general public about the bond referendum. And then we are also partnering with other groups to assist with advocacy for the bonds.
And I'll just like to final add to what Salah was saying is that, and we're doing the same thing here at the county as far as with the cease harm audit, we are working through things that maybe we had already started, but also waiting to do major work until after your recommendations go to the city council and board of county commissioners, and we get our next steps from them as far as which things to start implementing. But there has been discussion about the content with the cease to harm audit, the recommendations, different things have been brought up in different ways, especially preparing for our strategic plan 2030. So please know that we are actively engaged with that report and incorporating what we can.
Yeah, and I see two things happen, maybe three things. One, at the city and county level, y'all aligning y'all policies and all these groups that meet around equity and inclusion, city and county, but then there's an actual work on the ground in the communities and the neighborhoods who historically, y'all got all the data, has been disenfranchised by city and county processes that don't really have it equal to, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? What's the word? It hasn't materialized in a real quality way, especially when we know, y'all saying if the bonds do pass, that is going to raise property taxes. And the people, the most vulnerable people are ones that are going to be affected the most. So I'm just curious to know how y'all plan to address this, because I'm just real curious to see that, because like I say, I haven't been seeing that in the past. But we can talk at another time. I don't want to hold the conversation up for this, but yeah, I just got a lot of questions about this process, and just really want to see. Now, not only see, I just want to physically see and see something real happen for the Black community here, and not us, just keep talking about we going to help, but I actually let's hope that it materializes something solid.
Thank you, Dwayne. Bobette, I see your hand is up.
I just want to say that I want to thank Dr. Noah and Salah. If you all will send that to Dewana now by the end of the week, because I don't want to walk into a meeting to a city council on next week with thinking that you all haven't done anything, and I don't want people to think that nothing has been done, but that people to understand that there is a process. So as long as we can communicate and get clarity on what's going on, then we can help that, because I don't want to walk into anything with a mindset that nothing is being done and that all thing was done was the audit. And so it would be nice to know what you already have that you're working on now that's in place. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Babette.
Any more comments on this slide? All right, slide, next slide. So this one didn't change. Next slide. I think it was the next thing was the timeline. Yeah, that didn't change.
This one.
Yes, and that was with the, so that changed with us, and it was going in front of city council in July. So that does change the timeline, and we're still requesting the 6 months, which will end this process in February, at the end of February. So instead of, it will actually be, even though we are doing work currently, and we can definitely speak to the meetings and the discussions and the work we're doing around the creation of the 501c3 and the Black Chamber, we still, a 6-month timeline would be from September, because this won't be approved or denied until the end of August. And so it'll be from September until the end of February. And so I think that's the last part of update for this presentation. What's the next slide? I'm sorry.
So it'll be the proposed, you're just saying the proposed timeline, and then it goes back to our staff recommendation, which I've updated with the January date, and then I've added that infographic that I shared with you all earlier. And that's it.
Any questions or concerns in reference to the extension request presentation? All right. So the next item on our agenda is public comment. So there is an item that's not listed on the agenda that we do need to have a discussion around, being that this is our last meeting before we actually go before city council next week. And so some discussions that have been coming out in the meetings that I hosted 2 meetings last week, on Tuesday and on Wednesday, to discuss the 501c3 and the Black Chamber and community engagement around this process, and really trying to see when people are available and really see people's interest in continuing on this commission. So I had sent out emails, and in our last meeting, she requested that if people, the last 2 meetings, she requested that there were those who said they no longer wanted to continue with this process regardless of the extension. And so she requested that they send a letter of resignation, which she crafted, so that all they had to do was sign, so it was easy. And we could definitely remove them from the process. So what came up in one of our conversations last week was attendance, and really trying to figure out who is really committed to doing the work once if the extension is given. So, and what that looks like for us as a commission, who is really committed to continuing on and really getting a clear picture of what that looks like, and what level of activity are they willing to, because it'll be work. Like we will turn into a real working body to get these things done in a timely fashion within the 6 months that we are requesting an extension to do, on top of the subset of us that's already supporting the final report writing. And so we looked at our commission, CRC handbook. That's what I like to call it, our binder. And then our binder, the letter of commitment that we all signed and being on this commission, is that we will show up and participate in 80% of the work of this commission. And so there are those who did not reach the 80%, but that neither, and so with that, we just really want to gauge people's interest, like, and seriously have a conversation about what does this look like moving forward if given the extension. What type of time and capacity that people can give to this process to keep it moving forward, and for us to accomplish the goals of establishing those two bodies, structuring them, organizing, like it's real work that we done started having a conversation around in spite of the extension still being up in the air. And so I guess that's the question that I would like to propose to the commission, is how many commission members that are on here now, if you are a commission member on this meeting tonight and you would like to continue past this, regardless of the extension, like whether you get the extension or not, because it's still going to have to be done. But if given the extension, are you willing to continue on this commission? We kind of really need to get to a place with that. We have had that conversation several times. And so I can honestly say that I would be willing to, I am definitely committed to this process and getting the work done. And so I would like to ask the rest of the commission what that looks like for them. And we have time to have a conversation. It is currently 6:54 and our meeting don't end at 8 o'clock, but we can end early. I just want to have that conversation. And while we have space and time to do that, I would like to open the floor for us to have that conversation.
Hey, Dewana, this is Bernicia. I just had a quick clarifying question. Are you asking people to say, yes, I want to be a part of it? Or so is it a yes or no question and then some discussion? Or like, do you want to get a basis first and then move into discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like Babette to maybe call out each name that's present so you can have a clear, definitive answer from everybody?
Yes, that would be great. Babette, you got the paper?
I'm ready now. I'm ready. I knew it was coming, so I got my pen and my paper.
Okay, so Dewana, do you mind repeating the question one more time just so everybody's clear?
If given the extension, are you committed to continuing on this commission and doing the work that we are stating that we will accomplish within the time frame that we are requesting from the city? Yes or no?
That's all. Yes or no? Dwayne Barton.
Yeah, but not under the current way it is now.
Yes or no, Dwayne?
I said yes, but not under the current way it is now.
Just yes or no? Dwayne Barton, it's a yes or no. It can't be no if it's going to stay like it is. It's got to be yes or no, and then we can work out the rest of that. Yes or no? Just hold. Just hold up. Just hold up. MZ.
Yeah, I think I need to know.
I can't hear you.
We need to know what that looks like specifically. I think his answer was yes, but he's saying we need to know what that looks like specifically.
So
I'm the same way. I agree with him. His questions as well.
So as Salah has said, we will not meet. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dewana.
So we will not, we can have monthly meetings if it's called as a special meeting, but what this looks like for us is doing the work of what we did in our meetings last week was discuss what does this look like as far as how do we break down this work, because creating a 501c3 is work, and establishing it, structuring it, working on the bylaws, all of the things, working with an attorney to get the things done that need to be done in order to fully establish, which was one of our recommendations. The establishing accountability council or accountability body under the 501c3 and the creation of the chamber, while also still doing community engagement around this process and the potential of what it's going to look like that needs to still be happening, and for the support of those things. And so we broke down into groups. I asked everyone which group. I sent that email to all our commission members to kind of determine so we can have that initial conversation. What does those groups look like? How do they schedule and structure the timeline for each group? Because it's going to look different. What the 501c3 is establishing and the work of the 501c3 and creating the board and all of the things that need to be done to fully establish it as a viable entity is work. And so we just broke it down into groups to break up the work so that we could meet the 6-month timeline. And so the groups are determining. And so for the most part, the people who participated in the meetings did choose groups that they would like to work with on the implementation. And I think I seen Salah here and then Dwayne's hand, Dwayne Richardson's hand.
Mr. Richardson can go, and then I'll go after him.
Thank you, Salah. So I think that one of the things I'm taking away from this, and I understand what Dwayne was saying, and MZ, there's so much uncertainty around what the extension will look like. But I think that the one thing that we all know is there's quite a bit of work that we still have yet to do. And so if we could just come together and kind of commit to that work, the people who stay on board will be the ones who are committed to getting the work done, and will probably, I believe, will make the definitive changes that Dwayne Barton and MZ Yehuda would like to see. And so we can't really define those changes at this moment. But if we could just kind of get a collection of who is in, and then we go about doing the work, I think we can come to a better conclusion at a later date. And I don't want to move it down the road past the buck, but I don't know how we could make definitive conclusions about what the extension will look like because we haven't defined it yet.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Salah.
So from our conversation, Dewana, I actually kind of created just I'm not sure if I should share it or not, but I created like an infographic just to talk about like how you wanted to create you all were talking about the 501c3, you're talking about the Accountability Commission, you're talking about the Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and share it with you all really quickly. This was really not for you. It's really just for me to just kind of put down so I could see and make it make sense for me in my mind. Let's see if I can find it first. I may have misspoken, but maybe it'll help you all with just so you can see the conversations that Dewana and I have had and kind of what that looks like. And then I just kind of was asking myself questions about it. So let me see if I can go ahead and share that really quick. And again, this was for me, not for you all, but it was just something that helped me work through. And I'm not sure let me see if I can make it bigger for you all. Are you all able to see that?
Yeah.
So the conversation that I've been having with Dewana was around, first of all, naming the 501c3 and what the name that you all came up with. And one of the things that she came up with, or you all that met, was the Asheville Buncombe Community Reparations Commission. We talked about since the 501c3 has not been created, creating a steering committee, which consists of former CRC members. And then you'll see the city and Buncombe County are kind of like outliers. And again, this is just me trying to put things together and think through the process of or the conversation that she and I had. So the things that were brought up were the creation of the 501c3, the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Accountability Council, public-private partnerships, and community engagement were the things. And so I think, you know, for me, it's, you know, thinking about creating that steering committee to help inform that work. And the people who would want to move forward, as Dewana and I talked about, it would be the steering committee. They would be the people who will help to guide this work, right? And then there's work that needs to be done either under each one. So you're going to identify your needs. Again, looking for the attorney who could help to do the pro bono work, beginning some of that paperwork for the 501c3, and then looking at like funding, budget impact, right? So one of the things that Brad shared with me as I was having a conversation with him is that we are not, as a city, able to pay for an attorney to help with putting this 501c3 together. So that's why we're looking for someone to do the pro bono work. So I think hopefully that provides like maybe a little bit of clarity. I know it still leaves things out on the limb, but just wanted to share what I put together from my conversations with Dewana on possibly the work what it would look like moving forward.
So, this is helpful for me. I do have a question. So back to Dewana's question, for those who would say yes to wanting to continue to be involved, would that mean they are saying yes to being a part of this steering committee?
So I'm going to leave that to Dewana, right? Like we talked about it, but I know that they are having meetings outside of these meetings to talk about the 501c3, the Black Chamber of Commerce. And so just for me to be able to put my thoughts down, this was just helping me and, you know, I'm very visual, just trying to understand where they're headed. So.
Okay. Dewana, did my question make sense?
Yes. And I would say yes, because that's like this. The things that are on here is what we're requesting an extension for. So this would be the work of the commission outside of the final report. Like that was what the request was about, and also the public-private partnerships and the community engagement. Like this is what the extension was about, and so I would say yes, they would be a part of one of the groups, because we broke it down into groups to kind of not overwork, you know what I'm saying, make it overwhelming from any one person. So we broke it down into groups, and we chose what groups we want to work with, which part of this work that we wanted to do. So yes.
Okay, thank you. And we have CC and DK.
Yes.
Thank you. Salah, I appreciate you sharing that, because it does provide some clarity. And I did not attend either one of those meetings because I was unclear of what exactly was going on. I didn't have the clarity. And so this makes sense. And having the steering committee from those who want to move forward with the work sounds like a plan to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
DK.
Good evening. This is just a question, I guess, for the 501c and the Accountability Council. Does this just assume, or does it assume that the city and county will agree to running funds through these bodies, or does it need to exist regardless of funding from the local government?
I think it's regardless, because there's a lot of private funds that's not going to run through the city that will support, that's available to support this work as well. I think it's both, honestly. I would say regardless. Okay. But I'll let the rest of my commission members speak, because I don't want to. It's really a full commission discussion to answer that question. What are the perceptions of our other commission members? Does anyone disagree with that? what I said.
I want to say, I think that two things will be true at the same time. It will be funds that will come in outside of what the city and county will make available to us. I have heard it said, and I think this is a question for Brad. Um, is there a chance that when the 501c3 is created, is there a chance that we wouldn't receive the funding from the city and county?
Brad Branham, city attorney for Asheville. Let me see if I can answer that as best I can, Mr. Richardson.
Okay.
I think that what you're asking generally is if the nonprofit, the 501c3 is established, is there a chance that the reparations funding would not be utilized through that particular entity? Did I get your question right?
I think so. Let me try it again because I'm not sure I heard your answer right. So, the funding that has been made available to us, once the commission ceases operation and we move into the future and ultimately the 501c3, are we guaranteed that the funding will go to that 501c3, or is that something that we would have to apply for? Am I asking my question even correctly? In other words, will the city and county still be committed to us singularly as that entity, or is there a chance that we would ask for that funding, but the city and county wouldn't give it to us?
So I think at the outset, the first thing I must say to respond to any questions like this is that the final decision on all expenditures that involve the money that both the city and the county have put forward lie with the governing boards. So the city and the county, through the city council and county commission, will be the final deciders of those things. Now, generally speaking, what I would say is that I anticipate that the funding that has been set aside for reparations efforts thus far will go towards the realization of the recommendations that this body has made. That does not necessarily, in most cases, involve providing the money to the 501c3. It may have the city and the county directly spending those funds or investing those funds, whether it be in the establishment of new facilities or programs or real estate. It may not be necessary at all that the money goes to the 501c3. Now, there could be circumstances where the 501c3 could receive some of those funds as part of the reparations recommendations realization. But it's going to be a case-by-case decision based upon each individual recommendation and what those governing boards decide. Now, I would say that I've always envisioned the 501c3 as a partner to what the city and the county will be doing with those funds. While the funds that have been put aside thus far and the funds that will be put aside in the future are going to go towards realizing those reparations recommendations that you've made, the 501c3 at the same time could be raising private funds to expend on items that either haven't been recommended yet, or to spend on those things where the city and the county may have a legal barrier that stops them from being able to spend money on certain items. So the two would work hand in hand, spending money at the same time and also continuing to raise funds, either through the appropriation process of the city and county budget or through private fundraising. But all three of those things are possible, i.e. there could be no funds that have been put forward thus far that go into 501c3 because maybe it's not necessary. It could go to the 501c3 to implement some of the plans, or it could be totally that the 501c3 is a purely private fundraising agency while the public funds get spent on the recommendations that's already been made.
Thank you. I get it. I got much more clarity. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
So I have a question, Brad. So, given that, and I have to bring it back to Black. and I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring it back to the term Black. We done had these repeated conversations around our terminology and the barriers of implementation, things that are specific to Black, which is what our recommendations really are, minus the, even with the amended language to make it more operational, a way to operationalize it for the city. But this whole process was around Black people, the advancement of Black people, the repair of harm to Black people, which we understand and we have heard repeatedly that the city is limited in specifying a specific group. And the only way to get around that would be the creation of a separate body that can specify within reason a specific target group. And so I'm like, for me to see the city being able to, after this process, city or county to be able to, after this process, be specific in the group in which these recommendations were developed to impact, positively impact, on be very specific. It just makes it hard for me to believe that there wouldn't be, most of our recommendations wouldn't have to be operationalized externally from municipal bodies outside of the audit recommendations, which were really specific to internal processes and things like that, because most of our recommendations are not specific to, yeah, am I making sense? And trying to understand and process what you just said, when I just keep hearing that replayed in my mind that we can't be specific to Black people when that's the whole point of the process. And we did make the adjustments and the changes to our recommendations to, you know what I'm saying, fit into what the city and county parameters were. But it's like, at the end of the day, this whole process was created for Black people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Madam Chair. So I remain totally convinced that even with the limitations that the city and the county have legally, we'll still be able to utilize the funds that have been put forward in ways that will directly benefit Black Asheville. Those members that were specifically envisioned when the original resolutions passed by the city and the county went into effect. Those obstacles, however, will prevent us from being as precise and surgical in some of your recommendations. And that's where I think the 501c3 can play such an important role in this process, because it is not that one is trying to replace the other. They should work hand in hand. Where the city can spend dollars, it should spend those dollars. Where the county can spend dollars, it should spend those dollars. But in those areas where we have those legal barriers, that's where those private funds that can come into the 501c3 will have greater flexibility and fill those gaps. It shouldn't ever have to compete against the dollars that are being appropriated and spent from the city and the county side. That will be used to supplement in those areas where this commission and future iterations of this body will be able to say you want those funds directed. So think of this as a second hand to the process that will really take as many as possible. So many things can be added through that 501c3 to raise additional private funds without those limitations, to spend in those areas where the city and the county perhaps cannot, while the work is still going on to implement the recommendations that you've already made with the funds that have already been set aside where the city and the county are able to do so. So this gives you a much greater ability to spread that wealth around while also raising additional funds.
Brad, that was great. I see Babette's hand, and then I do want to for us to answer Dewana's question, which is what started this. But Babette, if you can make your comment, and then we'll move back to hearing from the group.
Okay, so I have a question for Brad. With becoming a 501c3, will that mean that we would have to apply to the city and the county and have the accountability of what, just like everyone else that would apply for a grant, since it would be a private, nonprofit, would we have to apply for and fill out applications and be accountable to even receive the funding that we're asking for? Is that why? Does that make sense? I'm trying to understand. Does that, you would still have, we would not be able just to ask for money to be pulled into that. We would have to apply for it, and we'd have to be granted the money for it, just like any other organization that's a 501c3. Is that correct?
So, Madam Vice Chair, that's a great question. And let me see if I can answer it by saying this. Many of the recommendations that this body has made would not require a future 501c3 or any other entity that you may form to petition the city at all. You've already made your recommendations.
Okay.
The city and the county, through their staff, through the monies that's been appropriated, can go ahead and begin implementing many of those things. Now, in the future, if you form a 501c3, that will give you a power that you don't currently have, which is that body can actually apply for future grants that the city may set aside. It may not even be part of the funding that's currently been put towards reparations, but you may want to have some effect within the community that would be eligible for future grants. Right now, you don't have a body set up to actually apply for those things, but you could if you had a 501c3. And in that circumstance, yes, there would be a competition, there would be accountability, just as there is for any group. But right now, you don't have that power because you don't yet have that entity established. But that would give you an additional authority in the future. I would also say that if there's a situation where the city and the county are trying to implement some of the recommendations you've already made, and we may need another party such as the 501c3 to help assist, you may not have to go through a process. But again, it's going to be a case-by-case basis to figure out whether or not in any situation what the agreement structure would look like.
Okay.
That's perfect. Thank you, Brad. So with this newfound knowledge, you guys, Dewana, if you don't mind, I'll try to reframe the question with all that we got, all this information we got. So what Dewana is wanting to know is of the folks that are on this call, are you all willing, if given the extension, if granted the extension, are you all willing to be a part of what Salah mentioned or showed us, which is the steering committee to help move this work forward? So this will be a yes or no question here. Okay, so again, the steering committee to help move this work forward if the extension is granted. Will you be willing to be a part of it? Ms. Babette, I'll turn it back over to you to name call.
Okay. Dwayne Barton. Dwayne Barton. Norma Baines. She said yes before. Miss
I'm
Baines,
here. Norma
yes.
Baines, I'm here.
Yes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Make sure I got it right.
Okay.
Tiffany Devereaux, she's not here. Renetta Conyers. Miss Conyers?
Yes.
Okay. Christopher Gordon. Roy Harris. Shonda Jackson. Kimberly Jones.
Yes.
Dewana Little. You say no, I did.
Yes.
Okay. Dwayne McAfee.
Yes.
And Bobette Mays, yes. Glenda McDowell.
Yes.
Tamara Miller. Dwight Mullins. Mildred Nance. Osandu McPeters.
Yes.
Thomas Priester, excuse me. Dwayne Richardson.
Yes.
Eric Robinson. Renetta Waters.
Yes. And my name is, I'm Raynita, and that's
Ray
Renata. I'm Raynita.
Raynita.
Yes.
Thank you. See,
Raynita.
that's what you have to tell me, because if I don't know, my eyes are getting old. CC Weston.
Yes.
D. Williams. MZ Yehuda.
Yes.
And that looks like that's it. Everyone that's here has said yes.
Okay, perfect. So Dewana, this will be your group to communicate with. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Chris Gordon's not on the call, but I know he's a yes.
So you know what I would want to say, that as we start to, if we get this and we start to move on, that we're always thinking about when we meet that people are working, school will be starting. So we'll have to have the meetings in the evening so that they can be there, you know, because we want everybody to always be there. So you say Chris Gordon?
Yeah, he's
Sandu, if he tells me no, I'm coming for you.
you can come for both of us.
Okay.
Well, thank y'all all for that, and so I thank you for the graphic. You're recognize your greatness, and all of the input from the city and county staff this meeting today as well. So I do. Do we have any public comment? Anybody signed up for public comment?
Sam will check for us and let us know.
All right. Well, in the meantime, in between time, let's go back over the meeting objectives for today. One was city county update, which was done, the budget, final report interviews. Please, please, please sign up for your interviews if you have not, and please select the time if you signed up for your interviews and didn't select the time. Staff recommendation update and next steps. And the extension request discussion, we did complete all of our at this meeting. And so our next meeting is the presentation to City Council, which is not a meeting, but I would love for all of our commission members to be present. There will be space for public comment for our commission members to be able to speak as they will. And so the meeting starts at 5 o'clock on the 27th. And so we're at the end of the agenda. Well, not the end, but like down there.
Yeah, that's where you are now, Dewana. It might change, and we'll let you know if it changes.
Okay, so please be on the lookout between now and the 27th in case there are an update to time. And I will send out a reminder email. How late could it change? By Friday of this week?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And so Monday we can send out a reminder for Tuesday?
Yeah.
To confirm that everything is still the same?
I would think so. As soon as I find out whatever changes or if there are any changes, I'll let you know. And as soon as you get that from me, you can send it out.
Okay. Well, as soon as I get that, I have been making updates to the meeting. I have been taking minutes from our meetings that we've been doing outside of this meeting around the steering committee work. And so I will share that out with the full commission, all those on here, so that y'all can see some of the conversation that has been had up last week. And then we can start after our city council presentation, setting up our times to meet. And hopefully we'll be able to meet again as a full commission so that we can really start looking at what that looks like and scheduling that out. Cece, I see your hand.
Thank you. I just want to say that please consider an evening meeting when you do meet with the steering committee, as Babette has said, because I don't get off of work until 5:30, so that'd be helpful for me.
Yeah, I actually scheduled 2 meetings, one during the day because there's those who work are more flexible during the day, and then one in the evenings at 6 o'clock, similar to this meeting. And so I will hopefully be able to keep that same format as we start to get organized. And then when y'all meet as groups, once y'all determine which facet of this approach that y'all want to deal with, y'all will be able to set y'all own schedule and time to meet as we break out into our work groups to get this work accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, there are no public comments.
So with that being said, there are no public comments. Is there anything else anyone wants to say? Any closing statements or anything like that? All right, if not, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting. Dwayne Richardson.
Would someone like to second that? A second, anyone? Everyone want to stay on here all night?
I second CC Weston.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Madam